Good evening, everyone. It is 6 o'clock exactly on the 9th of January, 2024, and time to call together this council committee meeting. Welcome, everyone. I do want to say happy birthday to Rachel Nichols. She's spending her birthday with us. Yay. Sorry. And we'll begin the evening with the roll call. Ms. Kittrell, please.
Vice Mayor Love.
Here.
Councilman Carter.
Present.
Councilman Payne.
Here.
Councilman Fennell.
Here.
Councilwoman George.
Here.
Councilman Hayes.
Present.
And Councilman Juvance. Mayor, we have a quorum.
Thank you so much. Before you have the minutes from December 12th, 2023, council committee meeting, entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Vice Mayor Love,
Second.
second by Councilwoman George. Are there any suggestions, additions, corrections? All right, seeing none, all in favor of approving the minutes from December 12th, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say no. Minutes are unanimously approved. At this time, we will have public recognition. This is for items both on the agenda and not on the agenda. You'll be able to come forward. We ask that you introduce yourself, give us your address for the record, and you will have 5 minutes to speak on anything that you may wish. But with that, public recognition is now open. And Mr. Brinkley comes to the podium. I could probably guess what he's going to talk about, but I'll wait and see if I'm right.
Reiterate this. Good evening, everyone. I'm Charles Brinkley. Reside at 155 Alpha Drive here in Gallatin. And on behalf of the Sumner County NAACP and the President, Reverend Thomas Staten, we cordially invite everybody under the sound of my voice here this evening to come and be a part of the MLK Unit Today program that will be held at Gallatin High School this coming Monday, the 15th. Program starts approximately 1 o'clock. We will march from this place to City Hall at 12 noon to Gallatin High School. There's a planned program. And if you miss this, we have a dynamic speaker. His name is Albert Tolbert, Elmo Tolbert. He's originally from Tennessee, Tullahoma, Tennessee. He is now pastor of a mega church, I don't know, in Michigan somewhere. But I guarantee you, if you miss the program, you'll actually miss a treat. We'll have a grand marshal. The NAACP in the community has selected Mrs. Velma Brinkley as the grand marshal for this occasion.
Perfect.
And I hear the weather gonna be sort of nippy, so it's gonna be kind of what is called chilly on the edges. But you know what? You don't have to walk. You don't have to march. You can drive your vehicle because we just want you to be present. And even if you don't march, you just be at the Gallatin High School, 1:45, 1 o'clock. Because I think it's exactly 1 mile from here to walk, and it take you old folks in about 25 minutes. When it should take you about 10. It's gonna take you a bit further. Anyway, you know what? I'm using up my 5 minutes, because it's important. There'll be transportation. We have a shuttle bus. So it's no excuse for you not to do it if you don't want to, if you want to. Well, a shuttle bus will be traveling from Gallatin High School back to the City Hall. It starts at like 10:30. If you want to leave your car and walk, march down, you're welcome to do so. And I appreciate your time. My time is expired, and I thank you for yours. Thank you
Got
very
2
much.
minutes and 14 seconds.
Was it?
Said a lot in a short amount of time. I'm impressed.
I did.
Share the
you.
message with your friends, everyone, so that it will reach beyond the sound of Mr. Brinkley's voice, and they will have a very good turnout for the event. It's always a really great thing to attend. Next, under public comment.
Good evening. My name is Nancy Edwards. I'm a resident of the Newman's Crossing Townhomes area. And I was looking over tonight's agenda and had a question about one of the developments that is being looked at, the crossings at Hidden Creek. One of the things that I noted is that it borders right alongside Station Camp Creek tributary. So one of my concerns is that the Station Camp Creek tributary, I can't say that, is protected wetlands. And even if it is or is not protected wetlands, what kind of restrictions or protections are going to be put in place during construction so that the creek itself is not severely damaged? So that is my comment. Thank you.
Big Tuttle, raise your hand. Okay, you see that man raising his hand? He can help you with all kinds of stormwater information, but we don't typically answer during question and answer, but I just wanted to acknowledge so you didn't just feel like we were.
Because it's not just stormwater, it's construction.
Sure, sure. So, anyone else wishing to speak under public recognition? Okay, seeing no one, public recognition is closed. And I was going to address her comment further, but Mr. Tuttle's walking out because he's going to answer all her questions beautifully. And he's a great resource. He's actually a city engineer, and they have an engineer within that department that deals with making sure that tributaries and streams and wetlands are protected during construction and from stormwater runoff. So he'll be able to help her. With that, we'll move on to mayor's comments. I just have a couple of things. I did mention that it's Rachel's birthday, which is very important. Mr. Brinkley mentioned the Martin Luther King Day celebration, the UT Day celebration that's here at noon at City Hall, and then 1 o'clock at Gallatin High School. And most offices in the city will be closed on that day for the holiday. And then coming up on the 1st, it's this guy's birthday next to me. So we were just talking about how old people were, and he's apparently going to be another year older. Then, community-wise, I want you to be aware that the Disaster Recovery Center for the tornado victims at Gallatin Public Utilities is scheduled to close on the 12th. If you suffered damage in the tornado and you have not paid them a visit, I would encourage you to do so. As I said last week, the resources are beyond just FEMA, but the folks who are there at the center will be able to direct you to what might be able to help you if you are someone who is still trying to figure out a path to recovery from the tornado damage that happened. So with that, we'll move on to the regular agenda, and item number 1 is ordinance 02311 I did mean to mention too, there was an item left after the agenda with no objection from this body. We will add it as item number 12, and that is the project manager position that was discussed at the December work session to be put on this one. So I'm adding that at the end of the agenda if that's acceptable. And, okay, so now we'll go back to item 1, ordinance 02311-56. Interim city planner Jillian Ogden is here this evening to talk about that. This is for a 5.18 acre parcel zoning to the R6 PRD Haddon's Residential Plan Residential Development District with a preliminary master development plan for MI Homes, Bledsoe Springs, located north of Hartsville Pike and east of Airport Road. This was asked last week by Councilman Fennell to be put back on the agenda, and Ms. Ogden has prepared kind of the history of this discussion and debate to hopefully help everyone understand where we are.
Yes. Yes, this is the ordinance 2311-56. This was considered originally in November. And so the property that we are discussing this evening is north of Hartsville Pike and east of Airport Road. It was for a townhouse development. This property was recently annexed into the city, and they are now requesting a rezoning application with a preliminary master development plan. For reference, this is the plan we are talking about this evening. So procedurally, this is the process that has gone through thus far, this specific plan. It did go to Planning Commission in October of this year, and it was recommended for approval at that meeting with 15 conditions. They did revise some of those conditions from the initial planning staff recommendation, and I will go over those. On November 14th, this item came to the City Council, and the request was passed with a vote of 5-2 at Council Committee. On November 5th, City Council rejected the first reading of this item by a vote of 4-3. And then on January 2nd of this year, City Council voted to discuss the request again at this meeting this evening. For conditions, I have a couple things to kind of clarify based on what you guys discussed at the meeting a couple weeks ago. There was, on the left side of your screen, there are planning department conditions that went to planning commission, and on the right side of your screen are the conditions that were revised by planning commission and came in front of this body. Specifically, buffer yards and a question of where a greenway easement should go. The first condition was condition number 7. There was a revision to a buffer yard. It widened to 40 feet. And condition number 8, a portion of that condition was removed by planning commission. It was to align the 20-foot wide greenway easement within the center of an old railroad right-of-way. And condition number 9 had a revision for the width of a buffer yard on the south side of the property. Based on the staff report, and I pulled the exact same documents that you saw at the original council committee meeting, highlighted on there is the planning commission revisions, which address the 2 different buffer yards. And on the next paragraph was specifically what staff opposed, which was the removal of that portion of the condition number 8, in which the greenway alignment no longer needed to be aligned with the railroad right-of-way. Both the planning commission and planning department recommended approval for this item. That was the portion that was specifically opposed. And so I wanted to pull these specifically from the staff report for you. So this was the plan that planning commission saw. And then this was the plan that was brought in front of this body as a response to some of the conditions of approval. And the area I have circled is specifically where staff had concerns about the greenway alignment. This is purely due to how the railroad bed fits into that old railroad right-of-way. There's concerns about the connectivity ability of that greenway whenever the city goes in to install it, about getting from this property to the Bledsoe Springs development, which has already been approved. And so right in that corner, those property lines just don't align, and I believe that was the initial concern of staff.
Jillian, would that, since this is all one developer now, would that not be their responsibility to figure out that connectivity?
They would need to figure it out. I think the concern is that with greenways, we have people dedicate the easement, but they're not necessarily tied to actually installing the greenway. Now, this still requires a final master development plan, and we can look at it with more scrutiny at that stage as well. But that was the concern of staff, was that specific language of that condition was not was no longer a condition. And I believe it was taken out per the request of the applicant because that railroad right-of-way kind of encroached a good bit into the property, and it jeopardized that roadway and some of the townhome lots. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, does that help everyone understand the question?
On December 5th, when we voted again to stop these townhouses, I reminded the council that on May 28th, 2022, HP Townhouses asked for approval for annexation and to build 52 townhomes, which the Planning Commission denied with only 1 vote in favor of it. Although it was denied by planning, it was brought back to council in June, July, August, September, and November, and denied by council over and over. The problems that I see are adding more traffic to an already very congested highway. Hartsville Pike, they're still there. Before we ever approved Bledsoe Springs in the first place, we had the developer at that time, remove townhouses from their original plan because it was thought that they didn't fit there. So why, after denying this over and over, we still keep considering it, I don't understand. I don't think it's a good plan. I also don't think it's a good idea to deny one developer and then okay it with another developer. We all talk about Hartsville Pike, and the traffic is terrible. There's so many wrecks. We don't know what to do about it. We're hoping the state will come and make some changes, but I definitely don't think adding high-density development is going to help that in any way.
Okay, that was asking for questions. Anybody have questions for Ms. Ogden?
When Linda was talking about the denial of the townhouses, at that time, was there a market and a pizza place at that location?
A pizza place?
Now, this was before that was built.
This was before that was built?
Before that was built. And that's what some of, because at that point, I remember the discussion was about transitioning from single family to industrial, and then that became commercial, and they put that market that has the pizza place in it that you're talking about. And so now it's a transition between a market and single family. And I know Ms. Love mentioned that she'd
So the
like.
plan has changed.
So originally,
Different properties, different owners,
Yeah,
different
this-
developers.
some of this property used to be when it was in the county, it was, when we had a planning region, it was zoned OR, office residential. There was a plan for a gas station at that corner and then office space where this property is. But when the planning region went away, that plan effectively went away, except the gas station has since gotten built. And this portion now has no zoning because it was annexed after.
So we knew that there would be a gas station.
At that corner? Yeah, that plan has been around for a while. That I think came back in 2018, 2019.
If you go out there, and I rode out there and I looked at it, I know where this property is. I went out there twice last week and looked at it and thinking what will fit in that area. Now, it was mentioned that the people at Bledsoe Springs, but the people at Bledsoe Springs, I mean, they no longer live there on that farm. I think no, not on that field. There's not anybody living over there next to the piece of property we're talking about, correct?
I don't know if anyone's living there.
I mean, there's a couple of single-family homes that face Hartsville Pike, but this property's back behind that.
You know, the only thing that I'm thinking about is Councilman Javance. If you guys remember, he asked Bob Goodall to come out here and give a presentation, and I thought it was a great presentation, and I appreciate that, Councilman Javance. But one thing Bob was asked was, how do we preserve our green space in our area? And the best way to preserve that green space is density. I mean, that sounds like it sounds like a bad word, but this being close into town right here, I think it's a wonderful place to put a development right there. And you save from all these houses skewing up the countryside. Now, I lived in the country over 20 years, and I had one of the largest pieces of property that probably in the county, and I lived on it, and I really liked it, but I could not stop people from building out there. And every time I go out there, maybe once a month or once every 2 months, I see more things built. I feel that the city offers a lot better of a project than what the county does. You know, it wasn't too long ago, a friend of mine told me, he said, I bought a piece of property and I'm about to build me a house in these woods. I said, oh, okay. So I went out there and looked at it. I said, where are you going to build your house at? And he told me, and I said, do you realize there's not going to be any woods there once you build your house? When you put that power line in, you're going to be cutting 85 foot on each side of that power line, and you got a strip up through there that's going to be just nothing. So when we do stuff in the city, and I'm proud of a lot of developments that we built, we got sidewalks, we got underground utilities, we got landscaping. Our houses are not behind each other. We don't have sheds built here, built there, and I think that's one reason people want to move here. You know, another thing too is I was looking on the internet the other day off my wife's phone because I don't do Facebook, but I seen this one lady that was a member of the Constitution Assembly, which we all know that they don't really want development. But this lady has been adamant about us building here in Gallatin and concerned and this and that. Well, doggone it, if you look at her Facebook right there, her post, and I've got it on my phone, it's like, all you guys from California, please come out here to Gallatin. This is a wonderful place to live. And there's a lot of people moving here. I started noticing tags. I mean, they're all over from California everywhere, but should we allow some people to come here and allow other people not? I mean, I feel if they're going to build, they need to build within our core limits, close to the city, and I think that will save our countryside. I supported this project from the time it took off, and then the other day when it come in here before us, and then they said that there was opposition off of planning. Automatically, I felt, well, they've changed this plan, and all of a sudden they've added more density or whatnot. So I just like, I'm not going to support this now, and that's what I done. But once I walked away, I was unclear of what actually happened, and I picked up the phone and I made some phone calls. I called Bill McCord when he was still here. I called Matt Harris to say, what just happened? If it's a fault, it's my fault for not asking more questions that night. But you know what? I got to thinking about it, and I redid ask some questions, and I just think it's a good development where it's setting. I mean, something's going to go in that area over there, and I don't think you're going to put estate homes over there now that there's a market over there and a pizza place. I think it'll be a good community over there. That's all I got to say.
Well, I think it's important for us to recognize, and I think I'm probably accurate on this, but even though the traffic on 31 and Hartsville Pike has intensified drastically, and I'd say 31 is worse than 25 at this point, none of that is due to development in Gallatin. Well, maybe some on 31, just right there around Airport Road, the Enoch Hills or whatever, but the traffic's coming from outside of our city. It's coming from the northern part of the county, it's coming from Trousdale County, it's coming from Macon County. It's not, there's nothing that's been built in the city limits out Hartsville Pike that is residential that's contributed to that traffic.
Well, I'm going to piggyback on what you said. I've been in business 40 years right at 31E right here, and I remember a time when you would see a car every once in a while passing up the road, and that was good times. But sure, I do like neighbors. I do like the people that we've got in here, and I like the business that we've got. But now you try to get out in the morning at a certain time, get out in the evening sometime, they're stacked up, and there's nowhere for them to come but from Westmoreland or Red Bull and Springs or Macon County. So I agree with what you're saying right there. The other day when I come in here to this meeting, Stephen Carter said, did you wear your shirt? Because we all wore our shirts. And I forgot, and I felt so bad. I sat out in my vehicle, and I was like 15 minutes before we started the meeting. And Stephen knows I'd done it. I got in my vehicle. David Brown was there. I got my vehicle, drove all the way home on the other side of Gallatin, down by Vol State, put my shirt on, come all the way back, and I walked into here, and I wasn't maybe a minute late. And that was at, 6 o'clock? But now there are days I go out there, and you do get stuck in traffic. But
It's like timing.
The people that live on Hartsville Pike get stuck there every single morning.
Well,
We've heard.
Linda, I
Dozens.
like the countryside. I live there. I raised my family there. People are coming whether we like it or not. I go out there now. Used to, I could go from my lot to my property that was 13 miles up the road. There were 7 houses on that road that I would pass and see. It ain't that way no more. The day of going out there and hunting birds in these fields and doing this and doing that, it's a sad thing to happen, but if we do it right, we can save some of this road, some of this field. I grew up down in Indian Lake Forest in Hendersonville. My parents still live there from 1969. When I was a kid, going down Indian Lake Road, Craig can attest to this. I remember turning off Gallatin Road and passing Nanny Berry School, and all the way back to Indian Lake Forest was nothing but fields. It was farmland. It was cornfields. It was everything. Then all of a sudden, long about somewhere in the early 80s, all that stuff started building up, and it's gone. Another thing I noticed too, I get a magazine to my house, and it's over selling houses around the Middle Tennessee area. I turned around and I looked at it. I wish I had brought the magazine this evening, but you open that magazine up and you look at Franklin. Franklin's going, we're the fastest growing city. Please come out here. People love it. They're promoting it. They're advertising it. But you turn around and you mention it here in Sumner County, and it's like, oh, please don't mention anything about growth or anything. We're not.
I believe that they have the exact same conversations there because I interface with a lot of those people. In fact, I was in Williamson County the other night, had the same conversations here. We're tired of growth. It's ruining our city. What is smart growth? How do you, but I think this is where I always say I believe in capitalism. I believe in freedom. I believe in the free market. The demand is the demand is the demand. People are going to continue to move here. As much as we can relieve the pressures with density and relieve the increase in housing costs with density, it keeps the pressure from going out when more land is taken up and built out. maybe with less density, but it's still gonna break up more land from being farmlands. That's how I believe, so.
You know, Paige, you and I,
But we're talking philosophies, we're not talking about
Not
this.
sure what all this has to do with Hartsville
Mr.
Pike.
Givance would like to be recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. I think all that is great, but Gillian, when something comes for annexation, how long the process take generally right now?
Annexation probably takes, I would say at least 6 months.
At least 6 months. When a development come from initial submission to arriving at that council, how long that takes?
What type of submission?
Just like the development we're talking about.
Planning commission is a 6-week cycle, and so usually you guys see it probably about 2 months after it's initially submitted.
So we're talking at least 10 months, a year, almost.
Yeah, yes.
Okay, so I have to agree with Vice Mayor Love, okay? That development came, got denied annexation, got pulled back again. So all the people who voted against the annexation suddenly vote for the annexation. The development came here, got turned down. And after that, people who voted to turn it down, bring it back and put it on the agenda again. That's just ridiculous, because where do we stop? And again, people who are not used to the process, who look on Facebook or look on TV, what they think. Say, oh, that was turned down and suddenly it's bring back up. What the reason? So I have no more question for you, Gillian, I think, but I have comments. So I don't want to keep you at the podium if.
Thank you, Ms. Hodgson.
So again, I'm going to go back and do what we had in a packet. All right? And I'm going to read out of the staff report. It's still there, hasn't changed, okay? Staff report. The PMDP indicates buffer yard, we just talked about that, and other comment element, but doesn't identify a common open space tract that is calculated to meet the intent of section 069-140C and table 6.2 of the Gallatin zoning ordinance. Identifying usable minimum recreation open space is a condition of approval. The applicant has not illustrated that the plan meets the 35% open space requirement for R6 PRD. Okay, does not meet the requirement. Much of the site not used for residences is reserved for driveways and parking areas and contain very little usable open space. Oh, usable open space, I like that word. Sounds like last night. In addition, the common access easement that provide access to the adjacent convenience store to Hartsville Park includes nearly a third of an acre. Again, that's not my words. That's what was written by the staff. The PMDP shows a driveway connection to Elliott Drive from a substreet in the adjacent Bledlow Springs subdivision, which is intended to serve as the primary access point for the development. The primary access point goes through another subdivision. A secondary access point with a shared access easement with the adjacent convenience store is also provided to the south. The access easement, we have a code control gate, which provides limited egress, only access with a code, and ingress, only access with a code. We talk about that. I've seen that years and years. Every time a subdivision came and said, we want a gate, that got denied. So why suddenly we get a gate in a parking lot of a convenience store and we're going to accept that as an entryway? That's ridiculous. However, staff has concern that the proposed parking may not adequately serve this development, causing future parking issues. We see that all over the city right now. People complain they don't have parking. And that was mentioned last night at planning again by staff on another development, that they have concern that there is not enough parking for the people. In addition, planning staff does not support development as proposed, as reasonable accommodation providing public benefits are not offered in exchange for the exemption granted by the Planning Commission. Okay? These are the word of the staff. So I've been coming here and hear you guys for years, and now I'm sitting there, but how many times I heard we need to listen to the experts? And when the expert telling you that's no good, suddenly we don't listen to them. So we can have it both ways, all right? Traffic study. Almost half of the packet is traffic study. Traffic study from 2020. And the traffic study is made using the 2010 Highway Capacity Manual with the 5th edition. The Highway Capacity Manual is now at the 7th edition. That's a detail, but the code said that the most recent Highway Capacity Manual must be used. So if I follow the code, what's in there, it's no good, because that was not used, the most recent, as required by the code. It's, again, how many times it has been brought here, turned down, and come back. Now, because I think that needs to stop, this kind of stuff, I don't know if you remember this year, when I opposed it, you guys voted an ordinance amending the code, Chapter 2, Article 2, Division 4, Section 293, General Rules of Order. You remember when I told you that was no good? So if I read this ordinance, the general guidelines for order. Hey, Susan, that's for you. The rules of order and parliamentary procedure contained in the Robert's Rules of Order, newly revised, will provide guidance for the orderly and efficient transaction of the business, and it's go on, go on, go on, go on. However, that's where the important part is coming. In no event shall Robert's Rules of Order cause any action of the City Council to be null and void, or to, and that's where I'm coming in, otherwise supplant any action of the City Council. So when we brought that at the City Council, that was brought using Robert's Rules of Order. We voted on it. By doing that, we're supplanting the action, the vote we took on that development.
I disagree with that. Let's get back to talking about the
By
development.
ordinance, we cannot do it.
I disagree with what you're saying, that you're going
It's
a
black and
roundabout
white.
way to make something mean something you want it to. We're talking about this project, which I think it is ironic that we have probably spent more time talking about a 5-acre development than we have spent talking about any 300-acre development in our city in the 9 years that I've been here. But anyone else have any comments
Yeah,
on this development?
Can I ask Matt Harris to come up here, please?
Council, will you suspend the rules? Motion to suspend the rules. Okay, Mr. Carter makes motion, second by
Yes.
Councilman Fennell. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, welcome, Mr. Harris.
Matt, I hate to pull you up in this, but I know you sit on planning. Is this a good development?
Thanks, Sean. You know, it's a good development for what, the way it's designed for the spot.
Can that problem be fixed about the trail, the connectivity of that?
I think it could. So I think it would be wise to go back and look at the connectivity of the Greenway trail so they can get a good alignment. But I think to Jillian's point, this is, preliminary. It still has to come back for a master development plan. And so there's another opportunity to look at the fine tuning of the project.
Is there a representative here for this development?
I'd heard that Mr. Cook is here.
Can I ask Marty to come up, please?
And I think the landowner had intended to be here this evening as well, but is ill. I got a message about that. and
Is
I
the
was supposed to-
landowner here?
He's
No.
got the flu.
I just said,
Marty, how are you?
Yes, sir, I'm fine, how are you?
Have you watched this from the get-go?
I have, and I was involved in the other Bledsoe Springs development back when it got approved, so.
The opposition that we're talking about off of planning, you're aware of that?
Yes, and it's my understanding that all that has been worked through and or made conditions, yes. I mean, that was part of the conditions that were made to the approval when it received unanimous approval from planning commission, and they have agreed to those conditions and to.
Why in the world did Bill McCord bring that up like that? I'll never know. Marty, the only thing is, before it makes it to the final master development plan, if I was to come and ask you at the next reading, if you could pull any density out of it, would you say that y'all be interested in doing something like that?
I can say that we would talk about that. Again, it's the first we've heard of it, but we can talk about it. I know that
What?
if you're going to lose some units to realign the greenway, the way the planning is asked for that to be done. So I think 3 units are going to be lost for that. Or that's already been removed from the original plan between planning and now. It was 51, I think now it's 48. So it has been reduced some, but.
All right, I've asked enough questions that I want to ask, but thank y'all for coming up here.
Thank you.
Mayor,
Motion to
anything-
send on to
okay,
council.
Motion by Councilman Fennell to send it
Second.
on to council, second by Councilwoman George. Any other discussion?
Yes, ma'am. How can we vote something who doesn't meet the code? So if we do that, it's black and white. Again, you can shake your hand, Mayor. It's black and white, written by staff.
Inappropriate.
How
Not-
can we vote on something what doesn't follow the code? So why do we have a code? So I'm going to make a motion that we get rid of the code. So we don't waste time. Everybody comes there, put
Okay, I
whatever
think,
they
I
want.
think Mr. Juvance has offered an amendment. Motion.
But that's what you and
That's for lack of a
Susan was
second.
saying you
Wait.
disagreed with Pascal's point of view on it, correct?
I think a lot of, he's talking about something different this time.
Okay.
I think in the PMDP plan and using our code as guidance for how we develop everything, there are oftentimes slight variances. Ms. Ogden, please jump up there if I'm saying something wrong. And
So the master development plan process allows you to ask for exceptions, but this does have a number of conditions that they would have to meet because they're conditions in the ordinance. So any exceptions that they're asking for are embedded in the plan and wouldn't be addressed with conditions. But you're allowed to ask for exceptions with master plans, yes.
motion died for lack of second. Back on the main motion. Anyone else? Okay, all in favor of sending item number 1, ordinance 02311-56 on to council, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say no.
No.
Okay, that passes 5-2. Moving on to item 2. Thank you, everyone, for your patience. I thought we'd be less confused. We may be more confused. So, item 2 is ordinance 02401-1, rezoning a .30-acre parcel from CS Commercial Services District to the MRO Multiple Residential and Office District with a preliminary master development plan for the Patelis East Main rezone located north of East Main Street, west of North Westland. Ms. Ogden.
Yes, the owner and applicant request approval of an ordinance to rezone 0.305 acres from the CS Commercial Services District to the MRO Multiple Residential and Office District with a preliminary master development plan. This is located north of East Main Street and west of North Westland Avenue. The PMDP includes a duplex, 5 parking spaces, a public and private sidewalk network, and stormwater features with landscaping buffers, which is a permitted, and this is a permitted use in the MRO zoning district. The proposed duplex provides a suitable transition between the residential use to the north and commercial uses to the south. That gas station is at this corner just south of this property. The zoning with master development plan is consistent with the characteristics and generally adheres to the development strategies for the downtown core community character area. The PMDP includes detailed architectural elevations for the proposed duplex. The architectural elevations consist of a 2-story duplex featuring primarily brick construction with hardy board detailing and architectural shingles on the pitched roof. The Planning Commission did recommend approval of this rezoning with a vote of 6-0. Thank you.
Jillian, is that in the historic district?
Love your
It's not, it's
request.
just next to it. The historic district is north of this.
Thank you.
But I do think it is a residential street, and I think every house on that street has older architecture,
Most likely.
and I would like to see something that doesn't stand out in extreme.
I agree.
I mean, there's one on Hume Street that's entirely modern too, but I would wish that they would keep it with the character of that street.
I will say that this unit, it sits farther back on the property, and it is all brick, and has a pretty decently dramatic pitched roof.
I think if they would follow a craftsman style or I mean, it's almost identical to the one I'm talking about in Hume Street that's a modern character home. But there's also one that was built on, I can't remember, it's further down. I can't remember which street it intersects with, and it was built recently. 2 of them, actually, one on Eastland and one further down Hume, that both did have more traditional-looking architecture and finishes. One, I think actually they're both siding homes, but they kind of fit in with that neighborhood a little better than the other one. But I think that one might.
So is there a way we can vote to send it forward with,
We don't have architectural oversight.
Suppose discussion is open. So I have a question. Why MRO?
Is MRO across the street. And that works best for the use they are proposing.
Could they get the same usage with an R6 instead of MRO? It's like,
I would caution R6 just because there's not R6 in the area. And the density allowances for R6 and MRO aren't that far apart. They're pretty similar.
I just don't like MRO because again, if something change, we open ourselves to probably even if it's a small parcel, can put a lot more on that. So
R6 would probably have the same problem because R6 allows up to 15 units per acre.
it doesn't allow apartments.
It does allow apartments.
Does it allow apartment?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Anyone else with any comments or questions?
Motion to send it on.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Hayes, second by Councilman Juvance.
It is still, it has to go through 2 readings, correct?
Ordinance, yeah.
It's a rezoning, so it'll have readings and public hearing.
Check with the developer to see about
There may be a representative here this evening, is there?
to see about that.
Yes, sir. Zach Baker, Greenlit Design. What's the question?
Can you check with them, the developer, to see about if they can modify the architecture a little bit?
Or the
Yeah, absolutely.
Or the finishes, just,
Yeah, the architecture.
Absolutely.
and I know there's a Victorian like 2 doors down. The house next door is a dark brick, and it seems like there's a siding house across the street.
Okay.
And if they can, try to bring something back to us, within the next,
That'd be next week, or
Well-
would this be deferred
It would be
to?
next week.
Okay. Yeah, I can do that.
at least by second reading or it's public hearing too, right?
Yeah.
Sometime. Yeah. Thank you.
Motion is second. This ordinance 02401-1. All in favor of sending it forward to council, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Does move along unanimously. Item 3 is ordinance 02401-2, rezoning a 1.63 acre parcel from A agricultural residential district to the R20 low density residential district located at 1699 Woods Ferry. Ms. Ogden.
This property, the owner and applicant request approval to rezone a 1.63 acre portion of a parcel from agricultural residential district to the R20 low density residential district. This is located between Woods Ferry Road and Highway 109. The area we were talking about is in yellow on your screen. The owner intends to develop the subject portion of the parcel into a single-family residence, but cannot split the property from the parent parcel due to size restrictions for creating a lot in A agricultural residential. Agricultural allows a 2.5 acre piece of property if you were to split it off. The area they want to include is a little over 1.6. This is part of the property, of this property right in here. Has a couple different zonings on it. The only portion they would like to rezone is this little corner of it. The R40 low-density residential zoning district would be an option here. That is just one step below the agriculture, and the use would be permitted. But due to the size of this proposed piece of property, it would establish very restrictive setbacks on the property and would render it pretty much unbuildable. And so the R20 zoning, which is the next step down, would better accommodate both the minimum lot size and the setbacks that they would need to build a single-family house on it. Also, the unique dimensions of this subject portion of the parcel make it difficult to develop more units with a particular site topography anyway than is what is currently proposed. The rezoning would permit a more practical use of the property. The Planning Commission did recommend approval of this rezoning with a vote of 6-0.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Hayes, second by Vice Mayor Love. Is there any discussion or any questions, Mr. Johns?
I'm confused on that one. Where they trying to rezone, so if I'm looking at your map, the green is agricultural.
Yes.
And where is the limit of the property?
So the outlined red is the area they would like to rezone, and the property actually includes all of this, but they are not asking for anything on that at this time.
Oh, so the property is between, okay. That's
Yeah,
a
Woods
weird-
Ferry,
That's a weird property.
right here. The Woods Ferry's right there, and this is 109. So it's just this piece right here.
So they want to rezone R20, but the rest of the property is R40 and mixed use?
Yeah, MUG, yes.
Huh? Thank you.
Okay, ordinance 02401-2, all in favor of sending forward to council, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Moves along. Unanimous vote. Item number 4 is ordinance 02401-3, rezoning a 61.64 acre parcel from the PGC Plan General Commercial District to the MRO Multiple Residential and Office District with a preliminary master development plan for the crossings at Hidden Creek on 2 parcels totaling 84.05 acres located north of Highway 386 and east of Big Station Camp.
The owner and applicant request to rezone a little over 64 acre piece of property from the PGC zone district to the MRO zone district with a preliminary master development plan for the crossings at Hidden Creek. You'll see the 2 parcels on your screen. The first is right here, and then the back property is right here. Currently, the entire property is zoned PGC. This is on the north side of Big Station Camp. They are proposing 235 single-family detached residential lots, 83 multifamily townhome lots, and 2 commercial lots out parcels. The Plan Gallatin comp plan designates this area as part of the general urban character area. It is also within the Big Station Camp Boulevard mixed-use commercial district. The proposed residential development represents a density of approximately 4.96 units per acre, and this is consistent with that character area. The Big Station Camp Boulevard mixed-use commercial district calls for predominantly retail, restaurant, other businesses along Big Station Camp, and this is to serve the surrounding residential subdivisions, and also clarifies that this corridor in particular should transition from commercial to various levels of residential behind the commercial developments. Additionally, this portion of Gallatin does have a connector that's shown on Gallatin's transportation plan. And it's in that black square on the screen. Not only does it have Jenkins Lane is supposed to extend through this property, but also Bison Trail will extend through this property. That will someday connect into the Kensington Downs development off of Greenlee. Springdale Lane, which currently goes through the Revere Apartments, will extend from that complex through this development to the north and wrap back around to Big Station Camp to connect to the future Jenkins Road extension. The applicant is currently working with the engineering department to ensure that this roadway connection is consistent with the comp plan. The single-family homes and townhomes, they are requesting an exception from the brick and stone requirement. They are asking that cementous siding or hardy board be included in their percentage requirement. So 100% of the structures would be brick, stone, and cementous siding. This is similar to the exception that was requested and granted with McCain Station. This does connect into the McCain Station development and has a lot of consistencies with that plan. The architecture for the commercial lots will meet the 70% requirement. The Planning Commission also recommended approval of this rezoning with a vote of 6-0. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ogden. Opening the floor for any
Motion to
questions or
send it on.
discussion.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilman Hayes, second by Councilwoman George. Is there any discussion, any questions?
Thank you, Mayor. Again, a lot of exemption requests. Exemption on the architecture, but if that match the rest, why not? But my question is, where are we going to stop on the lot side? Because every time a project comes, we're going on smaller and smaller and smaller lot, contrary to the code we have again. If we have a code, why don't we just apply the code? So multifamily dwellings should be 6,000 square feet, and they ask for an exemption for 4,800 square feet. But on the multifamily, supposed to have 6,000, they ask for 2,000. So where are we going to stop? And that's the honest question, because what's going to be the next one? It's going to be 1,500 and 1,000, and so I would like to have an answer on that so I can, know where we're going. And I'm just looking at the development in general and the plan, and my first question was where is the open space there? It's basically houses on top of houses on top of houses, and I finally found it. That took me a while, and yeah, it is. It's in your packet, a little blue circle. So for how many units in there? For 380 units, the open space in development is going to be a pickleball court, some seating, and a bus stop. So again, the way I see it, when I look at the development, I look at myself, would I be living here? And if I was living here, would I like it? And I would not be living here because it's everything on top of everything. Parking, same thing. There's a comment on there. There's only 29 supplemental parking for 318 units. The staff, again, was pushed by the previous planner, even when we asked him to change things, that didn't happen, was the traffic study. We're going to be adding 600 cars on that road. I would really like to see a traffic study before voting on that. Because, you know, if you look around, you have Mackin Station with 184 units, the Riviera with 444 apartments. On the other side, you have Wellington Farms, 36 buildings, I figure around 250, probably 300 apartments. And we're going to add more, and we don't even know what the traffic's going to be. And I can assure you that for the phone call I get from my constituent, the traffic there is not good. And there is an issue with that connection there to Big Station Camp Boulevard, which is not going to be addressed if what I heard was right, not before at least the end of the year, if not next year by 2 days. So I have issues with that. I would like to see a traffic study before voting on that. And I think we should do that on every big development, but that's it.
Anyone else with any comments?
And I don't know if he brought this up or not, but you've got to realize that each one of these houses, that I think, if I'm not mistaken, for the Big Station Camp Boulevard, they have to put in so much money
Right.
per unit
There's the parade.
for the road improvement. So, you know,
Based on the
that's gonna-
traffic they generate. It's the only
Right.
quarter that does that.
I understand that, and I know that. Thank you for reminding everybody, but
Okay.
where is the improvement?
Anyone else with any comments? Okay, we have a motion, and a second, to move ordinance 02401-3 onto council. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no.
No.
It passes 6-1. Item number 5 is ordinance 02401-4. Ms. Ogden gets a break and Chief Bandy steps forward. Poor lady, first meeting.
Yes, this is an ordinance appropriating funds for a violent crimes intervention, should I get that right? Intervention grant. It's a state grant. You guys let us approve it, give me approval for it, and it's $239,000.
Motion to move to council?
Motion by Councilman Fennell. Second. Okay, second by Councilwoman George. No. Oh, second by Vice Mayor Love. Okay,
No, I didn't say anything.
all right. All in favor, or any questions about it? Okay.
I did, but whatever.
Motion by Fox, second by Love.
What?
Motion by Councilman.
I heard the motion by Councilman Fennell. Vice Mayor Love said she seconded it. That's good enough.
Whatever.
Okay. All right, any discussion? Any questions? All in favor of sending ordinance 02401-4 on to council, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say no. Thank you, Chief Bandy.
Thank you all.
Go back to a basketball game, please do. Item number 6 is Resolution R2401-1, approving an indemnity and hold harmless agreement with the Certificate of Liability Insurance to use the city-maintained sidewalk within the state right-of-way for the installation and maintenance of a projecting sign for 117 West Main Street.
Yes, this is for the Gallatin Chamber, just across the street. The protecting sign will be an illuminated marquee sign located on the northwest corner of the property. This is a double-sided sign and will be constructed of a white bent neon tubing and a black face panel. The sign will project over the public sidewalk maintained by the city, which is why the hold harmless agreement and liability insurance are coming to you tonight. The projecting sign, which predominantly features Gallatin in the center, will serve not only as a Gallatin Chamber identifier, but also as an entry sign into the downtown square area. The design and size of the sign have been approved by Planning Commission, and the hold harmless agreement and insurance that are provided in your packet have been reviewed by the city attorney's office.
Motion to send it on.
Second.
By Vice Mayor Love, second by Councilman Hayes. I think it's lovely. Anyone else?
Beautiful.
Okay, Resolution R2401-1, all in favor of sending it on, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. It does pass unanimously on council. Now, Ms. Courtney Russell, HR Director, Resolution R2401-3, this body's decision whether to extend a job offer to a city planner candidate.
Correct.
Ms. Russell.
Evening, council and mayor. Last week, we did have an expert panel interview, as well as many of the council members. The sole qualifying candidate that we were able to find for the city planner position. The expert panel was comprised of several local city and county planners, and that expert panel did feel as though the candidate met all of the requirements and recommended them to be considered for employment. I did not follow up with any of the council after their individual meetings to find out your take on it, but wanted to bring it to the body to open up discussion.
In essence, the expert panel was supportive of this person, thought they would be a good fit with the city of Gallatin. I did interview him as well. I felt that way. I think he met some of the planning staff. I think there was a level of comfort there on both sides. But it is this body's will as to where we go from here, folks.
I interviewed the candidate as well, and I felt that he was a strong candidate. He had an excellent, I was saying I interviewed the candidate as well. I felt that he had a really strong resume, great qualifications, and he seemed like he would be a good natural fit for the department for the city of Gallatin.
There is a probationary period in this hire, right?
Yes. As with all hires.
I interviewed him too, and I agree. I think he's knowledgeable. I could have probably spent half a day talking to him. He was ready, he was prepared. The only concern I have would have to have him jump into that role right there, knowing that he hasn't been in that position for a few years. So that's kind of the only concern I have. But I think it's a good candidate.
The department has some wonderful, knowledgeable support staff, so.
Particularly impressed that he just said planning was what he wanted to do the rest of his life, and he missed it, and he wanted to get back in it. So that was impactful to me.
Motion to send it to council.
Second.
The salary.
Well, the salary, typically we would offer the first step with the mayor having some authority to negotiate. If we go beyond that, then I would come back to this body to ask. So.
The way that the resolution is written, and I did remove the candidate's name just for consideration this evening, but we
Yes,
can
I
actually add that
appreciate
on for next week. But it would allow the mayor to have some negotiation authority, but staying within our current grade and step system.
When will he start?
Pardon me?
Could start with some professional notice, so with the expectation of at least 2 weeks, but again, it has to pass next week, and we have to.
Yeah, and
be able to
typically
offer
when
him
we're
background.
hiring department heads, I generally will encourage people to take some time between positions too, if that is what they need. And I don't know what Ms. Ogden's wishes may be, but.
The candidate didn't strike me as one who wanted that either.
Pardon me?
The candidate didn't strike us as one who would want that either. He's very
That's
excited to
fine,
get back
too.
into.
That is fine.
So,
We have a motion, a second to move it forward to council, as the resolution is. And then we will go from there. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. I would have liked a little more resounding yes. Can we try that again? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Okay. I think you're getting sleepy. Item 8 is Resolution R2401-6. Again, Ms. Russell, establishing the Administrative Assistant 5 position within the Planning Department.
correct. So as noted in the resolution, the planning department has found that they have some very specialized needs, and they'd like to make sure that there is a trajectory for either current internal staff to be able to take on additional responsibilities and be compensated as such, or if they find the need, they would be able to hire from the outside with additional requirements for a position. They don't anticipate at this time needing to increase headcount, but it's just kind of allowing for some internal growth and additional responsibilities for the positions that are in there now.
Motion to send to council.
By Councilman Shavants,
Second.
second by Councilman Carter. Any discussion? Okay, Resolution R2401-6. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Passes unanimously. Item 9 is Resolution R2401-4, reappointing Jordan Wallace to Gallatin Construction Board of Adjustment and Appeals. Mr. Stewart.
Thank you, Mayor. With your approval for the body, I'd like to combine 9, 10, and 11, one statement.
Move forward, we may. To decide whether to move forward, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, Resolution 2401-6 for, I'm sorry, for 2401-4 would be Mr. Wallace. His term is ending, and he has volunteered to do another term. We'd like to reaffirm him for another term on the Construction Board of Appeals and Adjustments.
Did you want to combine them? Move on.
Number 10 would be 2401-5, which would be, we've lost Mr. Fleming, who was our fire guy from Hendersonville, due to an illness that he's has to step down, and we'd like to bring Stan Watney in for our fire guy on that board.
That was our old fire that worked here.
He used to be the fire marshal here. Right. And the last one, we've also lost Sam Kirby to parental care now. He's taking care of parents. And so we've asked Jason Curtis to volunteer for that position. He has graciously accepted as a commercial contractor.
Motion approved.
Second.
I heard Councilman Fan and Councilman Fennell at the same time. So motion by Councilman Fan, second by Councilman Fennell. Any discussion, any questions? Mr. Shavants.
Yeah, the same thing happened last year. I'm going to abstain until I get at least a resume from the people we're trying to put on board, because I don't know these people, so I cannot vote on someone I don't know. So.
Okay, so this is Resolution R2401-4-5 and -7. Are we missing a 6 somewhere?
It was
it was something else,
2401-4, 2104.
Oh, I see, it was the one before that one, okay. So it's 4, 5, and 7. All in favor of sending these forward to council, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Okay, all three move forward.
Thank you, Council.
Thank you, Mr. Stewart. Item 12 is the discussion of a project manager position, and I guess I'll kind of lead that discussion. This is, I know y'all discussed it at a work session in December. It's things that we've discussed internally for quite some time. I know Rachel and I have talked about it. Nick and I have talked about it. Susan and I have even talked about it a little bit, and Rosemary Bates and I were talking about it last week before I knew it was to be on this meeting. I do think that there is a place for someone who manages projects within the city, because we have had challenges with our projects. I do not feel like that can be their sole responsibility, however, because I think those projects will ebb and flow. I think there could be a period of time in the future where that is like what they are full-time focused on for 2 years, but then what happens? And so in my mind, we would roll in some kind of project management, administrative role, possibly also have them work as a special projects manager, projects, so that they would handle construction projects, but also special projects, which may not be construction related within the city. Right now, Ms. Bates holds our TDOT certification for the city. I'd like to have someone that will also get TDOT certified so that we would be able to work with the local programs, things with an internal person. We talked about today in the department head that maybe we should, the interested parties within the city get together and talk about what this best structured might look like, and then work towards it in the next budget year is kind of what we were thinking. But I don't know if anyone wants to add to that or asking questions about the direction that we're going with what our needs are.
Let it move forward a little bit more and then have another discussion about it.
I second that.
Sorry?
Yeah, I second that.
Department would it go under?
I don't know. I mean, those are the things I say that we kind of need to, I mean, because we have people that do various things, but how do you create it? I mean, and you know, you're wanting to create this job at the same time that every department probably wants a job, including the mayor's office, wants another position. So we have to make it make sense and make it fill a need that's going to relieve the burden of some other people's positions and what they're doing. And so I think, the people I mentioned, Ms. Nichols, Mr. Tuttle, probably Mr. Priest, Ms. Russell, Ms. Hamacali, Ms. Bates, all need to sit down and kind of figure out what would be the best structure and job responsibilities for a role like that. What would it look like funding-wise? And then take it through the budget process is how I would suggest.
What's a reasonable amount of time to come back with this to have a further discussion?
Again, I would suggest taking it through the budget process because that's when we often come with new positions. And in doing that, we would also be able to see what other new positions are requested and then we could actually prioritize. I hate to just throw this one out there as the most important one when we may have other priorities that department heads make great cases for. I hope they, I hope they don't so that this could be a potential role within the city, but we don't know.
Sounds good.
Is that okay with everybody?
Sounds good.
All right.
There was a motion.
I'm sorry?
The motion and a second to send it to,
Okay, I just heard him say a motion to send it forward, and that's when I said I would rather go through the budget process. So, Mr. Fennell, would you be willing to withdraw your motion?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I don't know if somebody seconded it, I didn't hear it, so.
I did.
Okay, well, I didn't hear it, so would you withdraw your second, Mr. Juvance?
I think there is a need, and again, we're pushing the can down the road. To the next budget meeting, there is a need. We have stuff going on. I agree there should not be just one, but that can be an umbrella. Right now, we have so much stuff going on. With the shooting range, we need supervision because that's not moving. We have on the park side, the clubhouse and the golf. We could need supervision to make sure that's done. There's so much stuff going around that I think that's needed. And I don't know why when there is a need and when there is a need was requested by the head of department, we just push it aside and say, hey, let's push it to the next budget season and see what happens. I don't.
You do understand that we'll start budget hearings in the next 6 weeks, or in March, yeah. And that those two projects themselves, I would have a hard time making a case to hire a full-time person at probably $100,000 a year to manage a golf course bathroom renovation project in the shooting range. I think there are ways that we can navigate that without just, jumping in front of every position that they may request at this point to put this one out there. I mean, we've discussed it. I think Mr. Tuttle or Ms. Nichols have brought it up several times as we've gone through the budget hearings, and we haven't had, a strong enough case for me or this council to feel like it needed to be put in there. So we're going to start budget meetings. I'd love to get that budget approved in May, as we typically do. Right now, we're hiring a planning director. We'll soon be hiring an economic development agency director, or not we, but they. We've got a lot going on, and to add something else where we're trying to hire someone gets difficult at this point, especially, well, so my question was, would you withdraw your second so Mr. Fennell can withdraw his motion?
I suppose I have no choice, so, because even if I don't, I'm not gonna have a second that's gonna die, so I'm gonna.
Well, no, actually, the proper process would be for you to withdraw your second first. So if you don't withdraw your second, then the motion stands and we can vote. But at this point,
That's what I mean, if that's not gonna go through, so I'm gonna, get my second back.
thank you. So with that, we'll conclude the agenda, move on to other business. There are several items mentioned that are coming up. I'll start with this body. I think Ms. Love had one.
Yes, the Gallatin Historic Cemetery Committee would like to have a bluegrass music event to coincide with Decoration Day on May 25th. And it's in order to pique interest in our historic cemetery while showing off Gallatin's love of music and history. And the theme is somewhat unique. It's being called Dead Man's Bluegrass. And we believe that that unusual theme and the location will bring in a lot of tourists, a lot of people new to this area. The cemetery alone brings in some visitors, but we believe that this will become quite a good tourism event. And in order to fund this, I would propose that we take $3,500 for the bands, advertising, and other expenses, which are listed on your papers on your seats, from our budgeted tourism hotel tax money. So I'm asking for approval to do that from you all.
I'll second that.
I think it was just a simple ask. The money is budgeted, is all we need. It's just pretty much letting y'all know, making sure you're in agreement, and then we can move forward. I will add that as I was quizzing about I don't think Ms. Hammer-Colley nor I are like real comfortable with it, but that's why we have a committee, and they're excited about it. And the events we've done every Decoration Day have been great. And but Mr. Henschel was telling me that one of these bands, they actually cover a lot of Grateful Dead music. So I think that would be fun in the bluegrass vein. But anyway, with that, you have a motion and a second. All in favor of approving that, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Moves on unanimously. I wanted to update you all that last night, the Planning Commission did discuss open space definitions, and they discussed that as we now have a contract with someone to rewrite our zoning code, that we will navigate that as we go through that and see what their recommendations may be and what this body's recommendations may be, and figure that out as we go through the zoning code rewrite, rather than trying to do that just as we're getting into that. And I think those are my two things. Is there anybody else on this council that has other business?
Yes, Mayor.
Carter?
If you guys are not busy Friday evening, I would like to invite you to the Gallatin High School Hall of Fame induction. There are going to be several Union High and Gallatin High, former Gallatin High athletes that will be inducted. So come out and have some fun.
What time is it?
I think the girls' game starts at 6.
So it's at like halftime at the ball?
It'll be, I think, between the girls and boys games,
Between the
the
girls and boys
induction
games.
ceremony.
Thank you. I didn't even know that was happening. So.
And then that'll also give you guys an opportunity to come out and see the new G-Steppers. It's a new step team at Gallatin High School that is being sponsored by some people within the county, and they are really good.
What's it called?
G-Steppers.
Oh. I thought you said G-Peppers.
No, the
What?
G-Steppers.
Oh, that's neat. That's neat.
Gallatin Steppers, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have a new step team, so they'll be performing
Gallatin's earned
that
the
Friday
G's,
as well.
So, yeah. Mr. Javance?
You're in for a treat.
Yeah, we heard it. Thank you, Mayor. You talked about the planning commission last night, and we have one seat vacant, so I think that should be filled pretty rapidly.
I have someone I'm going to appoint, yeah.
And you probably have someone, but I wanted to bring forward one of the candidates to consider. Is Bill Baber. Dr. Baber has been in the city for a while and knows a lot of things, and I think it will be a great addition to that. So I wanted to point it out to you, Mayor.
All right, well, thank you.
And I say I have to agree with what you said earlier. We spend more time talking about that, what I call zombie development, because every time you kill it, it's erased from the dead and come back. That we talk about the high density development, so you were right on that. And another stuff I talked last time, I wanted to know if you had time to look into it, was the rate raise, the Resource Authority Board did to the city on the trash. So I wanted to know if you had time to look into that.
To look into what?
Resource Authority.
Resource Authority Board will raise the rate on the trash that the city I was asking if he looked into it.
No, it's, useless.
I don't understand.
No, I don't think that in the past we have, this body has approved. I know that Councilman Jovance mentioned something about the charter. I didn't know if he was talking about our charter or the Resource Authority Board's charter.
He's saying that we approve the rate.
Yeah.
We have to approve the rate.
We
that
don't-
We come back and set.
My impression is we don't get to.
That's why I bought it, because I looked at the report to make every year, and from 2015 up to 2021, there was a mention that the rate could not exceed $45 per ton, and suddenly on 22, the rate changed on the report. So I went to look at it. And I think that the only ordinance we approved was an ordinance from 2010 we approved, and on the rate and the bidding assignment, it said that municipality agrees to pay tipping fee in such amount up to 45 per ton of solid waste and 350 per cubic yard of brush. So that's on the ordinance. That doesn't say that the authority can just raise the rate. So that's why I would like to, Suzanne, if you can look into it, because between last year and this year, that's almost $239,000 difference. So that's a lot of money we can use to do something good.
I'll get with you to make sure I'm understanding everything.
Yeah.
I'll be happy to get with you and figure that out.
Else?
And same thing, it says there that we're supposed to have an annual report from the Resource Authority Board, the same way we have with the GDE. So I never seen a report from the Resource Authority Board, so I would be glad if we could have that. It's black and white.
Anyone else? Other business? Okay. Moving on to department head reports. I know Mr. Tuttle has something, others may, and I'm not aware. So we'll start with him, and others can follow if you need to.
Thank you, Mayor. I wanted to bring to you all's attention that we have the Smith Street widening project that goes from Water to Boyers behind the new courthouse. It's under construction. It's out to bid currently. The bid will open not this Thursday, but next Thursday, the 18th. Our current estimates have us right at what we have budgeted. Hopefully, our estimates are good, but it's difficult to estimate what our contracting world is going to do in this time and day. And so hopefully you won't hear anything from me other than we got the bids back and we're in range. But there is a possibility that I would come back to you in 2 weeks at the next work session and say, whatever this number is, are you comfortable with us moving forward, signing a contract, knowing that we're gonna exceed the budgeted amount, and look to rectify that on the back end, or if you'd like to go ahead and make an appropriation to make sure that we have the money available. But hopefully, our engineers have done a good job and keeping a good eye on the construction world, and we're in good shape. But I did want to give you a heads up just in case I'm coming back and asking for a little bit more.
And just for everybody's information, because the delay with the courthouse, we were planning to put that off until this was done, but while this isn't open, we're just gonna go ahead and bite the bullet and do it and get that street wide. And also an update just on the parking garage. I guess we're still on track to get it open, but we're trying to address some stormwater issues because, well, in essence, a parking garage was built with stormwater facilities in it, but no drainage. So engineering's been pushing for that drainage solution for quite some period of time. And then when we actually get that, it is a very, very difficult project for that road. So we're actually going to move some utilities to make it easier. It is going to cost the county some more money. They're not happy about that. It's going to cost us some more money because we've got to move utilities. But originally on that site, the water drained to 2 different locations. The way they built the garage, it's all going to one place, and the outlet for the water is actually 6 feet underground. So there has to be a stormwater outlet connecting to our system. So
Right.
did I say all that pretty right?
That's right on cue. Yeah, excellent. I don't have a good explanation as to why it was designed and left that way, but
Didn't have the same issue with the courthouse. I mean, obviously, that
Correct.
stormwater was all designed correctly, but.
it didn't make sense to us, and we have been trying for years to work with their designer and project management group to communicate that back to the county commission, and I don't understand all that was happening on that side, and that's not my business, I guess, but.
But it's going up, so.
Yes, the construction's moving along, and I think I've been given a timeline of around June for the completion of both of those projects and opening. And if the county approves the additional funds for the stormwater, they believe that they can also get the stormwater work done at that time too, which hopefully works out okay with the water line relocation.
Yeah, Mr. Kellogg said today, well, you were there, that he should get those plans next week, so.
And Mr. Kellogg has moved that faster than I've seen almost anything move, so. we're
While
doing our
working
part.
on the
We're doing our
TDEC
part.
water grants with the rest of the lines for the rest of the county, so.
Yep.
Y'all have all been busy, and I appreciate it greatly.
All right. Thank you.
Any other department heads have anything? All right, y'all know what time it might be. Motion to adjourn by Councilwoman George. Second by Councilman Hayes. All in favor, say aye. Ladies and gentlemen, we're adjourned. Have a lovely evening, and,
Hey, what are you saying at the rate?
no meeting in 2 weeks. We will have one next week, but good night, all.